Well, it's that time of year again. We have another type in, and this time it's at the Albuquerque Museum. It's December 31st. It's the New Year's Eve daytime celebration at the Albuquerque Museum. I'm bringing a dozen or so typewriters. It's going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be a lot like the same event we had in August of 2025 at the museum. So we anticipate a lot of people coming out and trying out our typewriters. Okay, got to get down there. Let's go. Good day, everybody. It's the next morning after the big Albuquerque Museum New Year's Eve event. I didn't really film a closing statement during that event because I was so busy. I wanted to reflect a little bit on the whole event, and well, we have this fledgling little typewriter group here in Albuquerque, which is really just myself and a few helpers. And we were invited to the Albuquerque Museum for their New Year's Eve in the daytime event. I brought a dozen typewriters, including 2 electrics. It was really fun. So all the typewriters were from my collection. We had a lot of people using the typewriters, especially young people. And if I had to adjust my typewriter collection for events like this, I would say I would like to have more electric typewriters, Type R electric typewriters, especially young kids. It depends upon how well their parents are supervising them, but in a number of cases yesterday we had to intervene and help the kids to not break the machines, like mashing all the keys down and jamming a bunch of Type R's together and then trying to move the carriage. When you do that, you could damage the escapement, things like that. With the electric machines, because of the rapid response of the keys and the fact that there's very little finger strength required, it ends up being less likely to jam up. So I like to, I probably could put together maybe 6 or 7 electric typewriters for my collection, but I'd like to have like a dozen. So that's something I might think about for my collection. But anyways, it was a really fun event. So if you're planning on putting on a public typewriter event, I would like to encourage you, if you have a collection of maybe a dozen typewriters is about all it really takes. And find a venue. I recommend like library meeting rooms is always a good place to start. Libraries, of course, are places where people like to come to read, among other things. So reading is typewriter adjacent, certainly. But I would say you need some assistance. You need some helpers. So if you're a typewriter hobbyist, you need to make connections in your neighborhood, in your community, with other typewriter aficionados, at least one other person, to help you load your vehicle up with typewriters, to help you unload at the venue, get set up, and really probably the most important thing is to help you deal with people, especially young people, playing with the typewriters. Make sure they do so safely. Make sure their experience with the typewriter is rewarding. So help them load the paper, help them straighten the paper out, help set the margins. Some of my typewriters don't have a paper guide to guide where the paper should go in the platen or in the carriage. So between one person and the next, they might thread the paper in a different position on the carriage, and therefore the margins are all wonky. So if you have those kind of machines, help them get the paper set up so it's a little bit better for them to use. So you need helpers to help you with a type-in. So I'm using the Kodak Charmera this morning because it is a gloomy, cloudy day, a little wet here in Albuquerque, and this camera has such low dynamic range that it's really best to use it on a cloudy day where the contrast is lower. So if you do get a helper to help you with a typewriter event, make sure that they are proficient with typewriters, and also make sure they have this good quality of attention to detail and don't get distracted. It's really easy when you're at a typewriter event and you're supposed to be watching to make sure especially young kids aren't breaking the machines. It's easy to get distracted with a conversation with an adult, and you might not catch something. So you need somebody helping you that's a real stickler for detail and focused on watching the public and helping them with the machines. That's really super important. And along with that, I would say don't bring your most delicate machines. Like, I didn't bring my Corona 3 because I knew there would be a lot of children at this event, and the Corona 3 is delicate and kind of difficult to understand how to use for a layman. I also have my Underwood Universal US Navy typewriter. I didn't want to bring it because it has a little bit of value to me, and I didn't want to risk getting it damaged. Bring your hardy, strong, durable machines that are good for the public to use. Now, there's another topic which we should talk about, which is paper. When I first started doing type-ins, I was bringing letter-size paper and using those in the typewriters, and it turned out to be a real waste of paper because a lot of times people would only type a few sentences and waste a sheet. So for the last few years, I've been cutting paper down to half size and printing a little logo on the paper. But even that, I noticed yesterday, a lot of these pieces of paper only had a couple lines or even one line typed on it. So I'm really tempted for our next type-in to cut paper down to 1/4 letter size. And it would be less wasteful. But on the other hand, it might be a little more challenging for people to thread into the machines because the paper's smaller and you can't really have as wide of a border, so you have to adjust the margins, adjust the piece of paper so that the left margin is closer to the left edge of the paper. And if you have an older machine like a Corona that doesn't have a paper bail but has just the paper fingers, those are harder to use on smaller pieces of paper. So anyway, there's some thinking there that I'm going to be doing about not being so wasteful. I think I brought a stack of paper about 2 centimeters thick and it was all used up. So there was a lot of people, hundreds of people, but it was a great event. But anyway, these are just little tips for you guys if you're planning on having your own public typewriter events. So the problem with young kids using manual typewriters is oftentimes they don't have the hand strength to make a decent imprint quality, and their reward is much less. So one of the themes for our New Year's Eve event was New Year's resolutions, and a lot of the parents were encouraging the kids to at least type their name, because the kids have learned how to spell their names, the young kids. But it's really less than satisfying for them when they can't get a dark imprint. It doesn't look very good because of their lack of hand strength. And so this is one of the major benefits of using electric typewriters for kids. And also, as I said, there's less chance that they're going to jam up the type bars. So I really encourage, if you're a collector and you want to start having public typewriter events, include a few electric typewriters in the machines you bring, and also remember to bring an extension cord and a plug strip to plug them in. Well, those are my thoughts post the New Year's Eve event at the Albuquerque Museum. We had a lot of fun. We're looking forward to having more events there in this new year of 2026. And I want to just encourage you guys, if you are collectors of typewriters, you have a sizable collection, think about sharing that with the public, starting your own type-ins, your own typewriter events. It's a lot of fun and spreads the word about analog writing, undistracted, disconnected writing, especially important in this day and age of AI and incessant online communication. It's great to be offline writing to paper. And until next time, stay creative and have yourselves a great day. Bye-bye for now.